Hey, welcome to Mooney Reads. My name is Beck, and today I'm going to be doing a pre-Christmas book haul. So these are all of the books that I bought in mid to late November up through the middle of December. Now, it would have made more sense for me to not buy books around this time because Christmas was coming up, but sometimes when things are hard, you just have to buy books. And that's where I was. Now, I didn't buy all of these. I bought the majority of them, but there were some that were gifted. I'm going to start out talking about manga and graphic novels, then I'll move to nonfiction, and then I'm going to be talking about arcs and gifted books that I received. First, I got The Girl from the Other Side, volumes 2 and 3. I had read volume 1 a couple months ago, and I really, really loved it. The story and the backdrop is really dark, almost like apocalyptic vibes, but it's very like dark fantasy. But the characters are super wholesome. There's basically this dark creature who's taking care of this little girl who's super sweet. I've read the first 2 volumes and I've really loved it. I still need to read volume 3, which has fallen behind my bookcase. So in order to get it, I'm going to have to completely take my books off of one of these shelves, probably the shorter one, and basically redo my bookshelf. So whenever I get around to doing that, I'll get to read volume 3. Next, I got Beyond the Clouds, The Girl Who Fell from the Sky. This was actually recommended to me by one of my coworkers who's super into manga. I talked about really liking kind of more wholesome stuff, and he recommended this, and I absolutely loved it. The story is set in this kind of fantastical world. Not necessarily everything fantasy-wise in the storybooks is believed to be true, but you aren't really sure what's in it and what's not. But it focuses around this little boy who finds this girl with wings, and people with wings are supposed to be really rare, but she's injured, so he has to help her and ends up going on an adventure. Right when I got done reading volume 1, which I finished volume 1 while I was on a 15 at work. I work in a bookstore, so right after work, I bought the second volume and read it, and it was a really wonderful time. I can't wait for volume 3 to come out. It comes out it's either come out in December or it is coming out in January. I could be a little bit wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember that it comes out soon. The next manga that I got were volumes 1 and 2 of Komi Can't Communicate. This is a series that I've seen recommended a few times by Mariama over at Black and Sapphic Reads, and this is another that looks really wholesome, kind of looking at friendship. I think it might be a little queer. I haven't got to read these quite yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Then we have some graphic novels that I'm pretty sure are standalone. First, there's Always Human by Ari North, which I saw going around Instagram a little while ago, but it looks really interesting. The whole setting is in this futuristic world where people get body modifications. But one of the main characters has a rare condition where she can't get these body modifications. So she's seen as disabled in this world. There's a sapphic romance in this, and I think there are other queer side characters too. The artwork is really neat. There's almost like a watercolor quality to it, I guess. I don't know artistic terms, but it looks nice. And I'm excited for that. Then the final graphic novel that I have is Bloom, and this is one that I've had my eye on for a while and have just not got around to getting or reading yet, but one of my friends recently read this and said that it was super cute. It's a gay love story. One of them is a baker. That's all I know. That's all I really need to know. It seems very summery, so I'm about it. So, next we can talk about nonfiction that I got. First, I have one that I'm pretty sure I bought in November, and that is Sontag by Benjamin Moser. This is a really chunky boy. It is the biography of Susan Sontag. I actually read some of Susan Sontag's essay earlier this year, Illness as Metaphor and AIDS in Its Metaphors, and had a really good time. They were very insightful. She's looked at a lot of things through this, like, social, philosophical lens that seems really interesting. And I actually started on this for the tome topple, only got like 50 pages in, but it's a start. But I am really looking forward to this. Already I'm really interested in Susan Sontag and hearing about her life, especially since the author's already like kind of put certain essays and talked about how their significance ties into her life, and it makes me really want to read more of her works. So I'm stoked for it. I'm excited for all of these books, obviously, because I bought them, but I'll end up saying that more anyways. The next nonfiction book that I got was Discourse on Colonialism. Obviously, it talks about colonialism, but it also talks about capitalism and how colonialism and capitalism has impacted people. And I found out about this book through Brianna from Brianna's Library. I'll put the video in the description where they talk about this. Definitely go check it out because this sounds really incredible. It's very small, very thin, but it has a lot to say, and I'm really looking forward to it. And when I bought that, I went ahead and got the Communist Manifesto and Other Writings from Karl Marx and Friedrich Engles. This is kind of a classic text that I'm pretty sure I've read pieces of. I read a fair amount of Marx and Engels for sociology because Marx lays the foundation for conflict theory. But I thought that it would be good to read the whole of the Communist Manifesto, and there's other good stuff in here. So that is all for the nonfiction that I bought. Next, I'm going to talk about the books that I got as ARCs or that I was gifted. First, I'll talk about books that I got from work. Like I mentioned before, I'm a bookseller, and sometimes they will send us ARCs or copies for the booksellers to read so that we can recommend them. So I have a couple just from that. The first ARC that I have is Aftershocks, which is a memoir about someone from an immigrant family, I believe, and I think that it talks about her dad as well. There's something that she finds out about him later. She, well, at least from the back of the book, it looks like it's talking about like sense of self and identity. So I thought it looked pretty interesting. The other book that I got from work was The Black Friend on Being a Better White Person, which is a YA nonfiction. And while I think the main person who writes it does the majority of this, I think it contains interviews or input from a lot of other Black writers. So I thought this looked interesting, and it's definitely in my wheelhouse of stuff that I read, so it would be good to know about to potentially recommend for people looking for YA nonfiction on the topic. And finally, I have a couple of books that were sent to me from publishers who reached out on Instagram. The first one that I have is Dr. Sad by David Bateman, which is the story of a gay poetry professor who has HIV that goes on a road trip kind of to find himself. I'm going to read you a piece off of the back of this just because that's, I think, the piece of the description that really got me interested in it. It says, leaping through time and weaving the playfully serious with the seriously playful, Dr. Sad blends poetry with prose and finds the humor and despair in one complete glittering tragedy of triumph. So I think from that, it's pretty clear that this book is very queer in a number of different ways, not just being a queer story, but blending emotions, blending medium even, since some of it's told in poetry. I'm super stoked for this. Then the final book that I was gifted from mid-November to mid-December was Polar Vortex by Shani Mutu. Shani Mutu is an author that I have been super interested to read from. I actually got Circe's Blooms at Night fairly recently used, so I plan on getting into her works early next year, reading both this and Circe's Blooms at Night. This is a story of a couple who ends up moving, and something from one of their pasts comes back up. And again, I'll read you just a little piece on the back. Are we ever free from our pasts? Can we truly know the people we are closest to? Seductive and tension-filled, Polar Vortex is a story of secrets, deception, and revenge. Oh. Tonks likes revenge. So it sounds really interesting. Circe's Blooms at Night is focused around somebody who probably committed murder. So I'm expecting both of these to be super interesting. I actually heard about Shani Mutu from Sajid over at Books Are My Social Life, so definitely check out their videos because they made me super excited to read a lot of her work. So those are all of the books that I got from mid-November to mid-December. If you've read any of them, definitely let me know what you thought about them down in the comments. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye.